Honorable members, we this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in their sight. Members of Parliament of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and in reality, inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and amen. Honorable members, item 2. Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. Constitution. You that outside the country on Tuesday, 28th November, to lead Ghana's delegation to the conference (28) from 30th November to 3rd December 2023. I will Union, IDU, and the 22nd Prime Minister of Canada, right as keynote speaker from 4th to 6th December 2023. Thereafter, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I will depart the United States of America Friday, 8th December 2023, to lead Ghana's delegation to the 64th of Sunday, 10th December 2023. Jury Article 68 of the Constitution acts in my stead. Yours sincerely, Item 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Page 1, page 4, page 5, page. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Page 7?
No, page 8, please.
Page 8.
Emmanuel Kodradi.
Sorry, who is speaking? The people that was passed. Why then didn't you sign?
I was in.
That's not the question.
When
Why
I was
didn't
once someday they will make it. So
you were coming back from where?
Sorry?
You said when you were coming back from where?
You know, we went out.
You said, I know you went up anywhere.
When we
not available.
I was around, Mr. Speaker. I wasn't in earlier in the morning, but I was in when proceedings were going on.
Yes, I can see.
The Speaker, he came at the time the bell was being rung, and he came to the registration table to
Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker. Not yesterday, I did not cite you.
who carried the attendance sheet. Speaker, I will want to challenge that because I'm not convinced
The people of Ningo Pram queued and voted for me not to be here. But Mr. Speaker, yesterday when the Youth Impact Parliament came, in the morning, I was seated here and I even whispered to you that I wanted to know who their speaker was, and you asked, and he raised his hand. So, Mr. Speaker, I want the country to know if Sam George was in Parliament or not. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Apologize.
Mr. Speaker, we are dealing with two different issues. And I think the relevance will register on my colleague. Mr. Speaker, I was relating to people who were in the chamber during the voting.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I know the Honorable Sam George has some Christianity in him.
Yes.
Some. He has some. You were not here.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy he tells you that he was here in the morning. Yes, I saw him in the morning. He was here.
And then he vanished in the table.
In the course of the voting, he was not here.
Yes.
As for my friend, the Honorable Jekum, Mr. Speaker, I was tracing and tracking him.
Yes.
Even when he was at the airport in Kumasi, I know. Even when he was there, I know the time you left there. Please never put up any pretense here. Don't. Mr. Speaker, I know when he left. At the time you put the question, he also was not here. That's the issue. Sam George, when you rushed in to whisper in the ears of Jetro, I was there with him. When you came and rushed to whisper in the ears of Jetro, I was there with him.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, so Sam, Mr. Speaker, don't bear false witness in the presence of the Lord our God. Don't bear false witness. Don't bear false witness in the presence of the Lord thy God. Samuel, the chosen one by God. Don't. Samuel, George, not open the door. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
He was walking away. He was watching you.
Mr. Speaker, I have a picture of me in the chamber, taken by the Speaker's original official photographer of me. At the time you were walking out, if you take the picture, you will see me in my chair with chain running away from the chamber. This is the picture. I can table it before the table office. At the time you turned your back on the maze and were running away from your budget, I saw your back.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, let it be registered that we didn't run away from the budget. We walked out on the figure. That should be registered. Because of the gymnastics, we walked out on the speaker and we said so here. Should I repeat it?
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I wish we don't get into a territory where we begin to reveal where colleagues were at particular times. I just heard the majority leader said he had manifests proving that Honorable Jekum left Kumasi at a particular time. Mr. Speaker, I have manifests that show that some ministers only arrived in the country latter part of yesterday, but were captured. I have manifest that majority, a good number of people behind you left the country last night. That is why they are not here. Should we begin to mention names of those who are outside of the country instead of being here to do the budget, Mr. Speaker? I can mention them. Ministers, MPs, who have got the manifest that they left the country last night instead of staying here to do budget. Should I mention them? Should I mention them? So let us be careful. Yes. Yes. But why didn't you remember that one?
Honorable members, I'm directing that only those are recognized to speak and they spoke should be captured in the official report. The others who engage in conversation were personal exchanges between them. They are not meant for the records of this House. And so please, official reports don't capture that. We will proceed. Page 9. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, page 9, item 5.2, Roman figure 2. Youth Impact Parliament from the whole Central Constituency, led by Mr. Jones Amegashi Viglo. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, there is a hyphen between Amegashi and Viglo. It's a compound name. And there's no E at the end. And if his title will be added, is the Speaker of the Youth Impact Parliament. Thank you.
Is a newspaper what?
The Speaker of the Youth Impact Parliament.
Oh, the Speaker.
The Speaker.
Led
Yes.
by the Speaker. It's already there. Youth Impact Parliament from whole Central Constituency, led by their Speaker, Mr. Jones Amegashi Viglo. Amegashi Viglo is hyphenated, compound name, and the Viglo, there is no E at the end. Please, table office, kindly take note. Page 10. Honorable members, my attention has just been drawn to something worthy of note. The mini parliaments that are formed over the country, whether they are youth or community or whatever parliaments, those who lead them there are presiding members. They are not speakers. And so that is what we will capture for him, presiding members. Now you have drawn my attention to something I never thought about. Honorable members, page 11. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, sorry to bring you back to page 8. I need some clarity here. On the names of absentees, it means that number 2, Ajekum, have been corrected to having been present yesterday. And then
yes.
Number 5, Minta, Doctor.
Yes.
But, Speaker, so it's confirmed that yesterday, Honorable Mahama Yarga, Honorable Senator Rawlings, and Honorable Kwesi were not in the chamber. Is that the case?
Mention all of them who were not there. Mention all of them. You have no one behind you and you are making
Page 11. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague on the other side wanted some clarification from you. Mr. Speaker, before you speak, you must have evidence before you speak. They spoke yesterday, and they are now seeking for clarification. If you didn't have clarity, why did you organize press conference yesterday? Mr. Speaker, for his information, Honorable Kennedy Ajapon is confirmed as absent. Honorable
Mavis Nkansa Boadu was confirmed as absent. Honorable John Kuma, the Deputy Minister for Finance who brought the budget here, is confirmed as absent, including the 3. So, by clarity, 6 MPs were officially absent yesterday. And therefore, 3 absent here, 3 absent here. You've made the Speaker become a victim of circumstances. You've badmouthing, you've been victim of circumstances. You've mentioned 5 names. Now, for your information, all that you said there is lie.
Honorable members, page 11. Yes, please.
Right, Honourable Speaker, may I take you back to page 9? Page 9, item 5.1. Yesterday, our beautiful Queen Mothers visited Parliament. And as the rendition goes on paper, Queen Mothers Association in Ghana, I think the correct rendition should be Queen Mothers Association of Ghana. Thank you.
Well, table office, kindly cross-check whether the association member that visited here is titled Queen Mothers Association of Ghana. Well, that will be the name of the association. If that is the case, you capture it of Ghana. Queen Mothers Association of Ghana. Page 12. Yes.
The Speaker, page 12, item 8, motion that this House approves the budget statement and economic policy of the government for the year ending 31st December 2024. The Speaker, the last line, Right Honourable Speaker resumed the chair, question put, and in the opinion of the chair, motion agreed to. The Honourable Member for Elembele and Deputy Minority Leader, Mr. Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Bua, challenged the opinion of the chair and 13 on the voice vote and called for head count in accordance with Standing Order 1132. Right Honourable Speaker accordingly called for head count. Some members of the majority group walked out of the chamber, sitting suspended, sitting resumed, and then adjournment. Mr. Speaker, contrary to what we have here, that the voice vote was accordingly challenged, of which, Mr. Speaker, you upheld the challenge and called for a head count. The information out there, led by the minister responsible for finance, is that the budget has been approved. Mr. Speaker, this matter is grave, and there is the need for us to set the record straight. Mr. Speaker, this is particularly important because a budget statement is an important document of state. Ghanaians have the impression that the budget has been approved, whilst we here knows that the budget has not been approved. So, Speaker, as we speak, the budget has not been approved by the Parliament of Ghana, and it's important for the people of Ghana to be made aware of. So, Speaker, I called on the majority leader to correct the records and to urge the minister responsible for finance to desist from the comment. Mr. Speaker, I also urge you to set the record straight, because there is a lot of confusion out there. There is a lot of confusion out there, because impressions has been created that the budget has been approved, whilst we in this house knows for sure that the budget is hanging. Mr. Speaker, we are waiting on you. Thank you.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know, by whatever event that the minority leader is relating to when he says to us that the budget is hanging. Mr. Speaker, the page 12 that captures the votes and proceedings. Page 12, item 8. The last, Right Honourable Speaker resumed the chair, question put, and in the opinion of the chair, motion agreed to. The motion was for the approval of the budget statement and economic policy of government. So your own votes and proceedings indicate to you that the question was put, and in the opinion of the Speaker, who was in the chair, the motion was agreed to. Mr. Speaker, the subsequent to that, we are told that the head count was sought by the Deputy Minority Leader. Mr. Speaker, that request is the one that is hanging, not the motion, not the decision. Mr. Speaker, people should understand. What is here is that the question was put and agreed to. And that is what the Speaker declared. That's the determination of the Speaker. Subsequently, a request was made by the Deputy Leader. That request has not been sufficiently addressed. And so that request that is hanging, if you understand what is captured here. As simple as that.
Honourable members, I don't think we have to debate this matter. It's a matter of record. And I direct that the Business Committee should reschedule the issue for next week for us to finally take a decision on the budget. The budget statement and economic policy of the government for the year 2024 is still before the House. And so the Business Committee will reschedule it for next week. It's before the House. It's not hanging. Nobody has hung it on any tree or any pole. It's still before the House. It's not a matter that Speaker should be seen or heard debating in public, because it's still before the House and the final decision will be taken most likely next week. We have, as noted by all of you, done a lot of work on the review of the standing orders. And that one too, we'll do all we can to place it before you next week. This issue about opinion ruling, decision, and all those things have been resolved in the new standing orders that will come before you. And so it will stop all this. But the practice before I became Speaker, and even during the course of my speakership, is that when you are to take a voice vote, listening to the voices from both sides of the House, sometimes it's difficult to decide firmly that either the ayes have it or the noes have it. And so there is an opportunity granted in the standing orders for the Speaker to express an opinion. And usually it is said, I think the noes have it, or I think the ayes have it. The practice is that is give opportunity if somebody is doubtful of the thinking of the Speaker to raise a challenge. That is the practice throughout. And that was what happened yesterday, and the challenge was raised. And so the next process was for us to do a head count. We have gone through this a number of times, and so that was what happened yesterday. It is during the course of the head count that we encountered a challenge. And some members of the majority side walked out. Some members were still present. But there was a lot of meetings, and some were standing and talking. And therefore there was disorder. And by our rules, when there's a disorder, the only thing open to the Speaker is to suspend sitting. And that was what I did yesterday. Then after that, we resumed. And when we resumed, the House was still not in order. And so the best thing is to adjourn, which I did. So I followed meticulously the rules of the House. For members and observers to go out and misinform the public, and for them to run at Parliament and the Speaker, that one, I leave it to them and their gods. So, for me, I'll do what I believe is right to the best of my knowledge and ability. And so next week, we'll try and do everything. But we have a saying, and I'm sure you all know this saying. Oh, you don't want to hear my saying? Yes, Deputy Minority Leader, you don't want to hear Minority Whip?
Speaker, when you finish.
We say that the mouth of the old man smells. But what comes out from that mouth doesn't smell. It's wisdom. This one is food for thought. So please, with all due reference to ABA Fuseni Honorable. Oh, you are here. He is our professor. Yes. So please, may I hear you now?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you made this clarity yesterday, and the public has been misinformed that the budget was approved. So it's good you have stated that there was no decision, and you have directed that the business committee should reschedule the budget statement and economic policy for a decision to be taken next week. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, I have been here 4 terms now. Mr. Speaker, you've trained me. I had the opportunity to learn under you
And Mr. Speaker, our rules are not that ambiguous. And when you quoted Order 113 Rule 2 and stated that you put the question first, you were not clear, you put it the second time, you were still in doubt. You said, I think the ayes have it. Mr. Speaker, the majority leader is a man of grammar. I think the ayes have it. This morning, my daughter, who had just completed Wesley Girls, told me, Daddy, I think the ayes have it means that you are not sure. She had just completed Wesley Girls. Yes, my daughter, she's in my office right now. And Mr. Speaker, this is a statement of fact. Daddy, I think the ayes have it means that you are not sure. And Mr. Speaker, it's for very good reasons that speakers upon speakers have been putting the question that way. I think the ayes have it. That's your opinion. If then you check, if nobody is on his feet, you go ahead, the ayes have it. That's declaration and that's ruling. The Speaker, even sometimes some speakers go ahead and put the gavel 1 to the ayes have it. The budget statement and economic policy is hereby approved. We didn't see that yesterday. Members, some senior members have been here 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. They were still confused. But how can you be confused by this? It has happened and happened and happened. There was no declaration of results. We were in the process. So even if you go to today's order paper, the table office has programmed the budget statement economic policy for 2024 for a decision to be taken today. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, it's motion number 10. Unfortunately, my colleagues on the other side are not here. They are playing a football game with no goalkeeper, no defenders, no wins, only 3 attack number 7, 8, 9, 8, 10. Mr. Speaker, for the second time, they've run away. I think, as members of the leadership, Mr. Speaker, we must take the rules of procedure serious. And Mr. Speaker, some lawyers are sometimes misled. The Parliament is a house of rules and procedure. It's technically different from court rules. When you go to court and there's ruling and you appeal the ruling, it means the first decision stands until the ruling appeal is heard. That is different from Parliament. Mr. Speaker, when you went ahead and quoted Order 98, that my opinion had been challenged in Order 113 Rule 2. If I had gone ahead to rule and you wanted to challenge my ruling, that way you would have come with Order 98, because the ruling of the chair is not subject to debate except upon by substantive motion. You stated all these things here, and that found it very difficult to believe that people were still confused. So, Mr. Speaker, what the table office has done is the right thing. Even some lawyers and members outside are finding problems in accepting what happened. But Mr. Speaker, where we are, Ghana is not standing well. There are critical decisions that people are looking up to us. And if you look at the numbers here, we in NDC believe that the people of Ghana are looking up to Parliament to take a decision and to give direction upon where Ghana should go for addressing our economic issues. As Speaker, we accept that we are in opposition. Look at the numbers here. Where are they? The people of Ghana has given you majority, and you are turning into minority in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, governance is not for joke. If you want to rule, you must be serious. People's destiny is in your hands. You can't take it for granted. And it's not a matter of technicalities. It's a matter of rules and procedure. And Mr. Speaker, this is the book of rules and procedure. Everything is clear here. So, Mr. Speaker, we came today
to take a decision on the budget. Today too, they've run away. So we should take a decision. Mr. Speaker, looking at the numbers here, even though you have indicated that the business committee should schedule it for its decision to be taken next week. Mr. Speaker, we have barely 3 or 4 weeks to go on recess. Mr. Speaker, I think once it has been programmed and the members are here, the leader of the house is here. Mr. Speaker, we have the numbers to go ahead. Mr. Speaker, we have the numbers to go ahead and we are ready to help them. Mr. Speaker, time is not on our side. As I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, if you listen to the minority leader rendition yesterday, Ghana, we are in crisis. Mr. Speaker, we are in a street. And you can't be in a street and be joking. We must assist, Mr. Speaker, for us to address the issue. So, Mr. Speaker, clearly speaking, Mr. Speaker, as leadership of the House, we must account for our numbers to come and do business in the House. Mr. Speaker, we have time, we've been voted for, and we're voted for to come and do business on behalf of Ghanaians. And that is why we have come. Mr. Speaker, today is today, and the decision must be taken. You want the decision to be taken, the decision is on the other paper, and it must be taken today. We are ready for the decision today. And the decision must be taken now.
Honorable members. Well, I will listen to the majority leader, but I hope and pray that your submission is not to debate the decision and directive of the Speaker. Yes.
The Speaker, is that advice to me? Is that advice to me? I just want to take a cue. Is that advice that you're proffering to me?
I was to the Deputy Minority Whip. What he said, I'm saying that I hope and pray that what he said is not to debate the directive of the Speaker on this matter. Well, as he himself quoted, I've stated clearly my position and given a directive. So that is not subject to debate. And that's what I just drew his attention to. But because
the Speaker is just an appeal. I don't qualify to challenge your decision at all.
Yes, and that is why I call on the majority leader, where you made statements definitely beyond the perimeter of this House into what we are constituted to do, the highest political platform for national debate. And so I'm allowing the majority leader to also have a word.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, for the record, when we stepped out, we did not misinform the public. We related to the truth as happened in this House. We related to the truth as happened in this House. Mr. Speaker, so we have not misinformed the public. What we spoke to is captured right here in the votes and proceedings. That the question on whether or not the motion for the approval of the budget statement and economic policy should be done by this House was done, and the ayes had it. Mr. Speaker, that is what is here. And nobody here has challenged that the question was put, and in the period of the chair, the motion was agreed to. The Speaker, as I've said, subsequently, a head count was sought by the Deputy Minority Leader. Mr. Speaker, it is that head count, that application, that is still not dispensed with. That head count has not been dispensed with. It should not be confused under any circumstances. Anybody who knows parliamentary practice, it should not be confused under any circumstances that the Speaker has not said that the ayes have it. Mr. Speaker, and then when you say that the ayes have it, and people are making issue about it, Mr. Speaker, the ayes have it is a term of art in any parliament, and it's a tragedy for people who don't even appreciate this. It's a tragedy on the part of people who don't even appreciate it. Mr. Speaker, now you refer to Order 98. Mr. Speaker, we raised preliminary issues. The Deputy Minority Leader who came and sought a head count came on the premise that he was challenging the ruling of the Speaker. The Speaker, that is what he said. And that is what engendered the preliminary issue that I raised. That what he was doing was an abuse of the processes, because the moment he said that he was challenging the ruling of the Speaker, then he ought to have come by a motion. Mr. Speaker, go to the records. Go to the records. Play the audio visual. That is what he said, that he was challenging the ruling of the Speaker. The Speaker, so that is why we raised those preliminary issues. I don't think that now we are correcting votes and proceedings, and I don't think that we should be going into this. And my colleagues are leading us on that path. And if you have to go on that path, the truth will be told here. Mr. Speaker, so that is what occasioned the preliminary issues that we have raised. I'm happy that you have said that you have given that directive. Mr. Speaker, it is not to question it. What is captured as item 10 on the motion, on the order paper for today, states that this honorable house approves the budget statement and economic policy of for the year ending 31st December 2024. Head count to be taken. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the voice vote has been dispensed with, you have pronounced on it, and it's been challenged. And the head count is being sought. That is what has been advertised here. It has nothing to do with the voice vote that we have declared. Mr. Speaker, if a ruling is given by a court and you appeal, to the extent that the appeal is not dispensed with, the ruling stands. That is what people should understand. That is what people should understand. If you don't understand, that is your problem. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, I thought we were dealing with the votes and proceedings. So when colleagues rose and were sidetracking, I thought we were going to rein them in and bring them back. But that is what it is. And Mr. Speaker, I think we'll go by your directive that on the 5th or 6th, 7th, that we'll do what is required of this House to be done. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
Honourable members, let's move on. Every speaker depends a lot on the guidance of leadership. And because of the nature of this parliament, a hung parliament, I place a lot of premium on pre-sitting meetings. Pre-sitting meetings with leadership. Honourable members, this is what happens on daily basis. Members come into this house, listen to what they want to hear. Even sometimes when it's not said, they still hear it. Members come to see what they want to see. Even when it doesn't exist, they see it. And so when they go out, they say what they want to hear and tell people what they've seen. This is what happens here. Before we always come in, every morning we have pre-sitting meetings in my lobby, and we go through the business of that day. How are we going to handle the business? Where we disagree, we go through how we'll iron out in detail the disagreement. We did that in respect of this item. And we all knew what was going to be played out. That is what we do. And that is what guides the speaker. And that is what I followed yesterday to the letter. We knew that there will be both sides with numbers. And therefore, it will be difficult for a speaker to tell, particularly when people yell, as to which side have the numbers more than the other. And so we all agree that I will use the same term that we all use, I think, whether the nose have it or the eyes have it. Then opportunity is created for somebody to challenge my thinking. We went through all this in the pre-sitting meeting, and therefore there will be a head count. We went through all that, and that was what played out yesterday. How can Speaker be blamed for going through what we agreed upon? Please, when you attack the Speaker, you are attacking Parliament. Because you are not attacking Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagby, because Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagby has made it. If not, I would have been seated here as Speaker. So the legacy is there. But we need to build this house. And I keep on telling you, this is a house of might and majesty. Might because of its influence. Its influence, what we do as a house, affects all Ghanaians. And it has effect globally. And so we need some respect, we need some dignity. That is why when you go to the court, there's a code of conduct there. You just don't behave anyhow in a court of law. If not, you undermine the power of the rule of law. And so please, let's accord this house the same respect. If you yourself don't do it, how will the people you represent do the same? They will follow your examples, because it's leadership by example. So I was really surprised, and I didn't want to go this far. But because you are playing it out again on the floor, I'm compelled to let people know that all what happened here, all what I followed, we agreed before we came into the house. With this, we'll move on. Page 13. Honorable members, we are still at the votes and proceedings. Page 13, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful. Mr. Speaker, on page 13, even before I come to that, Mr. Speaker, I'm a little bit worried this afternoon. When I came, I didn't see my colleagues.
Honorable member,
I'll come to that.
Votes and proceedings.
Yes.
Start with that. Start with that.
I'll come to that.
No. Start with that.
On page 13, paragraph 3, you have some members of the majority group walked out of the chamber. I hope you give me time to bring my second concern. Now, I think that the reading should be majority members of the majority group ran away out of the chamber. That's what I think should be the case. Then my second point is my concern about the fact that when I walked in today, I didn't see majority of my friends from the majority side. And so I tried making calls to some of them because I was worried whether they were kidnapped or something. Now, Speaker, just now, one of them forwarded a message to me, and I want the majority chief whip to confirm it.
No, the message is for your consumption. Okay. Please, it's for your consumption. Yes, it's not for them.
Yes, so I want to share it. That the majority chief whip instructed that they shouldn't come to work today.
Honorable member.
And I want to find out whether they be paid today or not.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please. Honorable members, please. They have made a submission. I want to respond to the fact that no member of the majority group ran away. No member ran away. Some members of the majority group walked out. They walked, they didn't run. Please, enough is enough. Let's go on. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, page 13. Yes, Ablakwa.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I note that the spelling of head count under our standing orders, order 1132, is different from what has been captured. And if we can just align our records, head count under order 1132 is spelled HEAD, no hyphen, COUNT. Both 1131 and then 1132. But the way it's been captured here in the first paragraph and the second paragraph at page 13 is different from what our standing order provides.
Yes, table office, please cross-check on that.
And then
whether
finally,
it's one word or compound word.
And then finally, Mr. Speaker, we respectfully agree with you that some members of the majority group walked out of the chamber. But Mr. Speaker, can we add sensing defeat?
Honorable members,
sensing defeat.
Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 21st sitting dated Wednesday, 29th November 2023 are adopted as a true record of proceedings. We don't have a copy of any official report, and so we'll move on to item actually we'll move on to at the commencement of public business. At the commencement of public business. Sorry, item 5. Item 5. Business statement for the 6th week. Item 5. Business statement for the 6th week. Please, the spelling of 6th. Table office, kindly take note. Let's go on. 6th. It's not well spelled here. The copy that I have. Yes, go on.
Speaker, May I
Please,
seek...
let's listen to the majority chief whip.
Come in. Why? Why?
Mr. Speaker.
Majority chief whip.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. He's the majority.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, indeed you are right. The majority side is on here, this side today at least. Mr. Speaker, I don't think we have enough colleagues in the House.
Honorable member, you are the minority chief whip. I have called on the majority chief whip to present the business statement. We are not talking about today or tomorrow. We are talking about the person known as majority chief whip. Please present the statement.
Speaker, he's a very good friend, and I understand what he's doing. Speaker, may I seek your leave, and with the blessing of the leader of government business, that the deputy whip is given the chance to present the statement instead of, because the leader is not in the best of shape. Speaker, the leader of government business is not in the best of shape to do the presentation of the statement. Speaker, with your leave.
Yes. Majority Deputy Whip.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your committee met today, Thursday, 30th November 2023, and arranged the business for
Please,
the
just a minute. Just a minute. Surprisingly, the staff was sitting with the copies there. They've not shared it among the members.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your committee met today, 30th November 2023, and arranged the business of the House for the 6-week ending Friday, 8th December 2023. Mr. Speaker, questions have been programmed in total 76 questions, 65 oral and 11 agent questions. Mr. Speaker, under Order 72, statement may be permitted to be made by ministers, bills and papers and reports, motions and its resolutions may be allowed. And Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee once again urged the Minister for Finance and other ministries, departments and agencies, as well as the independent constitutional bodies, to endeavor to submit their heads of estimate very early for the expedite consideration and approval of the House. Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee reminds all committees that the House has barely 2 weeks to consider the budget estimate and the appropriation bill. In this regard, the Business Committee urged committees to expedite work on the respective sectors' estimate for consideration of the House. Mr. Speaker, this is the business report of your Business Committee. Thank you.
Honorable members, the official reports should capture the business statement in its entirety as having been read and presented to the House. Honorable members, it's now for your consideration.
Mr. Speaker, once again, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the business report that has been submitted to the House. Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, you just said that the business committee must program the date in which the decision for the budget statement and the budget policy will be taken. Mr. Speaker, it is missing in this business statement before us. Mr. Speaker, it is only right that we program it and we know exactly the date that we will take that decision. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, attached to the business statement is a schedule for submission of committee reports and debate of annual estimate for the 2024 financial year, Mr. Speaker. And you can see that some of the date for submission of reports is Thursday, Friday of next week. Mr. Speaker, how can we adopt or debate a report on the estimate of ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as constitutional bodies, when the budget policy itself we have not taken a debate on? Mr. Speaker, that cannot be right. That cannot be right. Until we take decision on the policy, we cannot consider the estimate for ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as the constitutional bodies. Because these policies is what give rise to the estimate. So, Speaker, I submit that this schedule be pushed further to the following week until a decision has been taken by this House on the budget policy. So, Speaker, I so submit.
Yes, Honorable Emmanuel Bejira.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your business statement or the business statement from the Business Committee has taken off completely a bill that has been submitted to this House by seven members of this House, known as Proper Human, Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Value Bill. Mr. Speaker, it's been programmed since last 2 weeks under the consideration stage for it to be taken through the consideration stage. But missing in the business statement, where we have consideration stage of bills, we do not have this private members bill stated in the business statement. And Mr. Speaker, so I would like to find out from the Business Committee whether the private members bill, which is the Proper Human, Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Value bills, will not be taken again at all. Let us know. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you recall that sometime last 2 weeks, you gave a directive that a committee of inquiry be constituted to look into the Akosombo spillage and its effect. That day, after the debates and everything, it was suggested that the constitution of the committee be deferred to a later date. Up to date, nothing has been heard of it. Mr. Speaker, it is worrying that this House continues, you continue to give certain directives and sometimes refer certain actions to be taken by some of your committees and nothing is done. I recall that there was an issue concerning COVID expenditure investigations, and you directed a committee, the Committee of Finance and Health, to go and look into that. Up to date, every attempt to get the two chairmen to even call a meeting has fallen on deaf ears. Mr. Speaker, with the issue of the Akosombo Dam spillage, I want to find out when that committee will be constituted so that at least we will go into this and make sure that that unfortunate incident doesn't recur. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Honorable Suhini.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to get guidance from you on two issues. Mr. Speaker, the first issue has to do with the business statement that has been presented by the Deputy Majority Whip. Mr. Speaker, on page 3, you have statements, presentation of papers, annual budget estimates of the audit service for the year ending 31st December 2024. And it goes on. Mr. Speaker, earlier you gave a directive that the budget statement is still before the House, and that later this week, next week, the decision will be taken on what the status of the budget is. So when I have this listed on Monday, and the indication is that the budget estimates will be presented on Monday, and next week starts from Monday, I am wondering what that means as far as your earlier directive, that the final decision on the budget will be taken sometime next week is concerned. So that's the guidance, first of all, that I want. The second guidance, Mr. Speaker, relates to the condition of the House this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the votes and proceedings, and I look at page 8, you have members who were absent with permission, and their names are captured on page 8 of the votes and proceedings. Mr. Speaker, when you look at our standing orders also, Standing Order 15.2 says that, starting from 1, every member shall attend the service of the House unless leave of absence has been given him by Mr. Speaker. 2, leave of absence may be given by Mr. Speaker to any member who shows sufficient cause justifying his absence or who is away on official or parliamentary duties. 16.2 says a member shall be excused from service on the House or any committee so long as he has leave of absence. The Speaker, so my second guidance sought from you is in relation to the condition of the House today. When I look at the other side, I see that most of the seats behind the leadership of the majority is empty. And I want to be guided if this is as a result of absence that have been sought from you, and if it has been granted. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Ablakwa.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. First of all, please permit me to associate with the concerns raised by my good neighbour, the Honourable MP for Eso Jaman, the Honourable Thomas Ampem, on the outstanding issue of the committee that, Mr. Speaker, you very eloquently ruled that we'll have to set up. I know that we are busy with budget, but at least the composition can be done, and they can start doing some initial homework, sending out invitations and all of that, so that after this meeting, we can get into the work. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are so many important, outstanding issues relating to that directive, and we need to take action on that. Mr. Speaker, the next issue that I want to raise relates to the questions that have been listed for today. Obviously, we cannot take the questions. A number of colleagues and I have urgent questions and other questions for the Honourable Minister responsible for Finance. My question, specifically question 6A, is to ask the Minister for Finance if government is considering utilizing the 2023 contingency vote approved by Parliament to bring much needed urgent relief to displaced victims of the recent VRA-induced floods, particularly for resettlement and compensation. Mr. Speaker, all these questions do not feature at all in the business statement. I would respectfully like to seek your guidance if something can be done so that the clerks at table or the business committee would do well so that these questions, which are urgent and very important, can find expression next week so that, Mr. Speaker, the ministers will appear and respond to that. Mr. Speaker, related to questions also is the questions for Monday, 4th December 2023 at page 1 of the business statement. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister for Works and Housing is scheduled to appear before us on Monday. I filed an urgent question about 3 weeks ago, which you have approved. Mr. Speaker, our standing orders are very clear that urgent questions should not go beyond 10 sittings, 10 working days. It's long past that, Mr. Speaker. And we have an opportunity of the Works and Housing Minister coming on Monday. And I'm surprised that that question has not been added. I have followed up, Mr. Speaker, as we are enjoined to do under our standing orders. And I see that your office has approved it. And I'm surprised that the clerks at table have not added that question because it relates to the Saglemi housing project and why the displaced VRA-induced flood victims are not being moved to the Saglemi housing project. That is a very urgent matter. As we speak, thousands are living under inhumane conditions, under conditions that are very excruciating. They are living like destitute, like refugees in the land of their birth. That cannot be allowed. And if the Works and Housing Minister is coming here on Monday, why is that question not being added to the questions that, because he's coming to answer only 2 questions. I don't think that that is good use of parliamentary time. We should add that question so that he will respond to those 3 questions. So, Mr. Speaker, these are my concerns, and I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, Honourable.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the business statement as presented by the Second Deputy Whip, the majority. Mr. Speaker, I have been reiterating this point that even though we are within the budget hearing cycle and we are so busy, I think we should be able to accommodate the Electoral Commission to come to the House, Mr. Speaker, to brief us. Mr. Speaker, importantly because the district level elections is so critical that this House is briefed on the preparations so far undertaken by the Electoral Commission to hold that election. Mr. Speaker, especially also because the CIs as laid by the Electoral Commission in this House on the 31st day of October have matured yesterday after 21 parliamentary sitting dates. And so the indications, CI 137, 138, in respect of the organization of the district level elections, as well as the creation of the Guam constituency and the holding of elections in the Jasikai municipality. Mr. Speaker, I'm raising this point because when the Electoral Commission appeared before your committee, the subsidiary committee, and these matters were interrogated, there were some explanations regarding whether or not they will be able to hold the elections concurrently in all the districts as well as that of the Guam and Jasikai, especially if the CIs mature early. And the House took all the necessary steps to ensure that the CS matured days before the anticipated 5th of December. So, as a House, we need to be brief and to assure the people who earlier on were considered not to participate in the 19th of December DLE elections, whether or not they will participate in it, and what preparations has been put together to ensure that they participate fully by way of receiving filing of nominations and all that. So, Mr. Speaker, I pray that we accommodate them next week, however heavy our business is. And Mr. Speaker, secondly, it may not be a matter immediately arising from the business statement, but it is customary that any time before the celebration of the Farmers' Day, the Minister of Agric will come to this House and brief us regarding preparations for the Farmers' Day and what arrangements have been made for members of Parliament to visit their districts and participate. I am scandalized that the Minister of Agric and the Honourable Member for Ebitifi is not in this House when tomorrow is Farmers' Day. And Mr. Speaker, it's the first time that I can recall that this is happening, and it is not funny. So it is such an important omission that this House must not gloss over. How are we visiting our constituencies tomorrow? What will be the role of members of Parliament? Exactly what are we doing? Mr. Speaker, what program do we have? What are the arrangements? The Minister of Agric or his deputies ought to have been here, any of them, to have briefed us. Mr. Speaker, finally, let me say that you have called for an inquiry into the VRA spillage and the flooding. Mr. Speaker, I throw my weight behind the call by my brothers. This matter must not be glossed over. It has to be approached with all the agency that it deserves. So that, Mr. Speaker, for once, your directive that there should be a parliamentary inquiry, as you have done in many cases, but appears to be in abeyance. This one, Mr. Speaker, we are with you. And we are asking, I think leadership was tasked to constitute, to provide the names and the members who constitute the committee. I'm praying leadership to be able to do this by close of business today, so that Monday, Mr. Speaker, you can announce the membership of the committee, then the committee can proceed to work expeditiously and bring us a report when we return in the new year. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With regards to the questions, I was hoping that this time the Minister for Railways Development will actually answer these questions, because my question number 1538 is with regards to a disaster that happened in the constituency over 3 years ago, Mr. Speaker. And this question has been pending for quite a while. And I've had a lot of complaints from the people in the market whose livelihoods have been affected and who are being harassed by criminals because the market has not been rebuilt. And so, Mr. Speaker, just appealing that this question will be answered this time, because I had a few questions last meeting which were also not answered, even though they were advertised. And it seems to be something that happens quite often to some of my questions. So just a humble appeal that the Minister will actually answer these questions so that my constituents can have some assurance of what their future is. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2 days ago, I rose to make complaints about some questions that were advertised on Friday. Those questions included Dr. Zaneto's question. And my question was directed to the Minister responsible for roads and highways. Mr. Speaker, the question is very dear to my heart because is about a road that goes through Nakobi to Sanyare and Beniri. These are very important communities in my constituency, Mr. Speaker. And those communities are the communities that feed the solar market with foodstuff. Mr. Speaker, that particular road was reshaped yearly when the NDC was in power. Mr. Speaker, for the past 7 years, nothing has been done on that road, and it has deteriorated completely. That is why I think the minister should come and give us reasons why that particular road has been abandoned. So, Mr. Speaker, that day when I raised the issue, you directed the table office to ensure that the question is rescheduled for me to ask the roads minister. So I plead with you once again to see how the question will feature, probably next week, so that we don't rise without me asking that question. I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Business Committee, Majority Deputy Whip or the Majority Leader can respond to the concerns that are raised. There are comments they've raised and he has to respond to them. You want to do so before Majority Leader that he wants to add 1 point, so you take them all together. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to re-emphasize the rendition of the minority leader. Mr. Speaker, we must all assist you and take your directives and indications very serious. And I believe where we are now, the indication that you have given, even at times when Parliament has a day to sit, I'm a member of the Business Committee. We can early morning consider the business to be taken before the other paper is printed. So Monday will not be late. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't begin or start taking seriously your directives and indications, this Parliament may go somewhere. Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to Order 5, interpretation of orders. In case of doubt, these orders shall be interpreted by Mr. Speaker as he deems fit. And Order 6 goes further to say that where even there is doubt, Mr. Speaker, you shall make provisions and make discretion as you deem fit. You have given directives on this. I think, Mr. Speaker, Monday, a budget that has not been approved, estimate has been slated for Monday, some has been slated to be laid on Tuesday. The minority leader has stated clearly that so long as the principles have not yet been approved, the estimates must not be programmed. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to send strong indication that we in this House, including leadership, must support you and take your word very serious. So that Monday early morning, first thing, the Business Committee must meet. And when we meet, we make provision for that decision and indication that you've given. For it to be part of the business statement, to bring it here before the other people, Mr. Speaker, is printed and taken. If we don't start doing that, Mr. Speaker, we may be heading towards certain places where rules and procedure will not be followed. So, Mr. Speaker, based on that, I think that this business statement today must not even be adopted because it's inconclusive. Why didn't we bring name of the estimates and those things even last week? Because the principles of the budget has not been approved. And if now they still not yet been approved, and you have given indication for us in leadership to take your word very serious, Mr. Speaker, I think we must go by the indication from the minority leader that Monday Business Committee must meet, program for that order or that indication to find space on the other paper and the business statement. Before, Mr. Speaker, we can proceed. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, we may not be heading towards a good direction. That is my rendition. So I readily support my minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think the directive that you gave in respect of the decision is loud and clear, and it will be factored into the business for Thursday. The Speaker, that's the directive. It's a directive that came from the Speaker, unless you are expressing disagreement with that. It's a directive that came from the Speaker, unless you are expressing disagreement. Ahmed. Sorry. The Speaker, this prodigal son, I don't know. The Speaker, so it will be factored into it. The other matters raised by the Honourable Okujetu, I think you wanted some urgent questions to be factored into. I think we'll roll them out into the next week, if the minister can. But I do not know the status. If they've been admitted by the Speaker, then we'll follow through to be transmitted to the minister. The Speaker, as for what the Honourable Suini related to, I don't want to respond to that. When he says that he related to some seats being empty and so on and so forth. The Speaker, some seats being empty. The Speaker, I'm quoting him. He says most of the seats behind me, I'm quoting him, is empty. Mr. Speaker, the House will capture him. He said most of the seats is empty. So it's singularizing plural. So, Mr. Speaker, I captured it right. Mr. Speaker, you are not the editor of this house. You are not the editor of this house. Mr. Speaker, what I heard is what I Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Spillage, I understand is supposed to be a 6-member committee. I'm not too sure that we can finish with the task today. I'll engage my colleague. We'll deal with it, and maybe the next succeeding sitting day, we'll come up with the names for Parliament to adopt the composition of the committee, and I believe we can move on. Yes, Speaker, the other matter has to do with a brief by the EC being sought by one colleague. First, we must appreciate the point, because oftentimes members make these requests, and the next time you hear them, they are speaking to radio. Then, this house made a request. As an individual, if you make a request, it remains an individual request. If it is from the house, it is from the house. But, Mr. Speaker, if the directive from the chair is that, well, it is relevant, can we invite the EC? So be it. But as it is now, it is an individual making a request. It's not that of the House. Mr. Speaker, I will suggest, in any event, that because we are in the business of attending to their estimates, within the next few days, they'll be here. And when they come, I guess we can relate these matters to them. And, Mr. Speaker, for the umpteenth time, let me say that the majority did not run away from our budget. The Speaker, we walked out. We walked out after the Speaker had announced that the budget had received an aye response. Yes. If you want to litigate it further, that litigation could happen. And it's been slated, as the Speaker has directed, to Thursday. And Thursday next week, we will deal with it. Mr. Speaker, questions meant for today, which will not be related to, will be reprogrammed for next week. And because so many of them are outstanding, at the Business Committee today, we indicated for them to reprogram all these outstanding questions so that we can make judicious use of the time next week when we will not be attending to the estimates. Mr. Speaker, members have raised issues about the pendency of the headcount when papers relating to estimates must be presented to the House. Mr. Speaker, I believe that is a matter that the House can deal with. The Subsidiary Legislation Committee, for instance, has before it this instrument from the Trade and Industry Committee, the Trade and Industry Ministry. Formally, it was already been before us, and yet we spent precious time discussing it here. These backroom consultations could happen, and we all do agree that we would not have much time. So if they do come, let's assume that the House comes to reject it. It's rendered odious. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, you are making a good point. By convention, we have been approving the budget statement and economic policy. Mr. Speaker, you recollect when we were having the post-budget workshop right here in this House, I raised this matter. Happily, this is finding expression in the new standing orders. And Mr. Speaker, you related to it this morning. If you look at the Constitution carefully, you realize that what you have even been doing by purporting to be approving of the policy has nothing to do with the Constitution. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. The Speaker, the Constitution just says that it should be brought to us for our information. This is not a Supreme Court matter. What is here is that, and I'm talking about Article 179 of the Constitution, clause, Mr. Speaker, if you listen to the Speaker, the approval is for the appropriations bill, which this one will lead us to. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Suhini should take time to listen to me. You shouldn't only listen, but take notes. Mr. Speaker, so it's a substantive matter that this House should deal with. Doesn't mean that what we have been doing in this House is unconstitutional. It's a convention that we have been resorting to, but clearly it amounts to no constitutional breach if it passes through before we get to the level of the approval of the appropriations bill. But, Mr. Speaker, we are talking about a convention that may not sit with the Constitution. That is the point that I'm making to you. Who tells you that? Who tells you that? Who tells you that? Ablaka, this is what's the constituency? What's the constituency? Not on interpretation of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I thank you very much.
Honorable members, order 15. Sorry, order 55, order 55, says any item of business standing on the order paper on any particular day which has not been completed or reached on the interruption of business under the pertinent provisions of these standing orders shall be placed on the order paper for the next sitting day in such order as the business committee may determine. So whatever business are being captured and are outstanding, they are rolled over as we go along. And so they will come anytime they are scheduled for the business of the day. You don't have to keep on capturing them on the business statement. Then order 140. Particularly 4 says that part of the budget relating to the ministries for which they have responsibility shall stand committed respectively to the committees responsible for the subject matter to which the heads of estimates relate as referred to in order 1512 and 152, and each of such committee shall consider the relevant heads of estimates committed to it and report on it to the House within such time as the business committee may determine. And that is why usually at the presentation, or I should say after the presentation of the budget statement and economic policies, the statement that you make in 143 talks about those estimates standing referred to the relevant committees. And so what we discussed with leadership was to, as of now, I'm told that we've only received four estimates from the various ministries, departments, and agencies, only 4. And so as they come in, they are referred to the relevant committees. What is outstanding is the recomposition of the committees to take into consideration the changes that have been made during the course of the meeting. And so you have some members who were leaders of some committees appointed to be ministers or deputy ministers. Then on the side of the minority, you have a reshuffle of leadership, and some members of the leadership were leaders of committees. Definitely they cannot hold both positions. So there is an urgent need for us to recompose the committees. The committee on selection have sat on that, and we are presenting the report. The report will be taken on Monday. So the committees will now be properly recomposed. And because of that, the estimates that are received will be referred to those committees to handle. Thursday, then, we'll take the decision on the budget. So that is what has been planned. With regard to the issue of the Akosombo spillage, I did indicate that we're going to establish a committee that will look at it comprehensively and make recommendations to this House as to how we could attend to the current situation and also take measures to prevent future occurrences. That committee, because of the nature of business, we realize that even if it is established, you will not have the time to go and do the work because you will be needed to take decisions on the floor, like what happened yesterday. And so that is on hold, which I'll do immediately we finish the issue of the decision on the budget statement. So that one will be done. I am to do that, and I want to give an indication that the committee will not be made up of only members of Parliament. No. Because of what we referred to earlier on, there are a number of referrals to committees that are made of only members of Parliament, and in spite of my insistence that the committee should report to the House, the committees have failed and or refused to report to the House. When you look at the standing orders, there's not much that the Speaker can do. You have to rely on the leadership of the House to use such opportunities to reshuffle the members from maybe from the committees that they are leading. That is what is in the standing orders. We don't want to always be mentioning names because of the effect on you at your constituencies. And so as we try to protect you and preserve your integrity and your positions, you continue to abuse the privileges that we extend to you. And truly those committees are still expecting, because I've asked the clerk at the table to give me all the outstanding referrals, and at the appropriate time, I'll personally take some measures against those committees, particularly the leadership of the committees. I'm aware of the one on the COVID. I'm aware of so many of them, and they will not just go unpunished. Then, the issue of the EC, I think the majority leader has responded to that. And the other programs, he has responded to all of them. But leave of absence clearly did not come to our notice. So there is no leave of absence. We will move on to say that you still want to raise issues on the budget, the business statement? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we can't just pretend that what's happening in the House today is normal. The majority leader ought to tell the House why he's here with only his deputy. Mr. Speaker, the world is watching us. If they have an issue why they decided not to come to work, they have to say, Mr. Speaker, I still don't feel comfortable that the business statement as read by the majority on behalf of the majority by the deputy whip should be adopted, Mr. Speaker, so that we can send a signal that there was something wrong with the sitting today, Mr. Speaker. I wish we can actually defer the adoption of today's business statement until Monday, when we see more of our colleagues on the other side. Because they are not here. And the majority leader has failed to tell us that, today too, we are boycotting, we have decided that only the two of us we are here. Mr. Speaker, when we were closing yesterday, we thought we were coming here this morning to continue with what is captured under item 10, the motion. So, Mr. Speaker, they can't decide that the passage of the budget, for the first time, we have to decide. A government have decided, don't approve my budget until next week Thursday. The government, which is broke, which is looking for everything they can find, who is begging everybody in the world, is begging the minority, don't come and approve our budget until next week Thursday. Mr. Speaker, today is not a normal day. It's historic. Today is a historic day. I am not aware of any government that has actually asked that this budget should not be approved when people are ready to approve the budget. So, Mr. Speaker, the least we can do is to defer the decision to adopt the business of next week to next week, so we find a little bit more of them. As we were speaking, the deputy whip just came in. There are just 3 in Parliament today. The world would like to know, how come only 3 of you from the New Patriotic Party are in Parliament today? Out of 138. Mr. Speaker, today is not a normal day. And Mr. Speaker, I'm pleading with you. Defer the adoption of, I know we don't vote on it, defer the adoption of today, next week business until Monday. We want to see more of them in the chamber before we take that decision, Mr. Speaker. It is very, very important. We can never pretend that, in fact, even on our side, the numbers are depleted out of frustration from the other side. colleagues are even leaving the chamber. So, Mr. Speaker, we cannot pretend today is a normal day. If our colleagues have an issue, why they will not come to Parliament, the world need to know. So, Mr. Speaker, the business statement has been read, but I know we don't need to vote on it, but Mr. Speaker, for the world to know that we are serious in this House, I will plead with you to defer the adoption of the business statement to Monday next week, when we have a little bit more of people from the other side combined with ours, that we can adopt the business statement. In any case, Mr. Speaker, people call for some additions or subtraction from what has been read, so it will be in place for us to come back on Monday. It's not like we've not done it before. When we go on adjournments in the day and we come, that day we go for the business committee meeting and come back and adopt the report on the same day. So it will not be out of place for us to do that, Mr. Speaker. I plead with you that it is totally unusual for us to have only 2 members of the majority sitting in the chamber and still adopt a report brought here by them. The number keeps dwindling between 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious thing, Mr. Speaker. Let's defer the adoption of the business statement to next week. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, let's move on. I think we've done a lot. We will have to adopt the business statement. Once the issue of quorum has not been raised and a decision taken on it, the absence of members cannot prevent the House from doing business. And so we'll have to adopt the business statement for today. Definitely, our proceedings are aired live, and so people will see what is on the floor. It's not for us to try to show that something is abnormal. It's for the people to see themselves and then decide. But I think the absence of the members have actually not been explained to me. So I can personally testify as to why they are not available. But we have the leadership available with us. Whether it's for good reason or bad reason, we don't know. We just have to go on with the business of the House. Please, let's adopt the business statement before we go on. Very important. But everything is important here. Yes.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, the majority leader has created the impression as though I am making a personal call for the Electoral Commission to brief the House. That is most inaccurate. About a month ago, it was the sense of the House that the Electoral Commission comes to brief the House. And so, when the then Deputy Majority Leader who presented the business statement was responding to the issues, he assured the House, and the Minority Leader made the point that the Electoral Commission has to come, even before the budget got presented. And we were told that they will arrange for the Electoral Commission to come and brief the House. So I am only amplifying that call. It's not a personal request. I'm only insisting that the call by the House that they should come, they have to be brought for them to brief us. It's so important that they brief us before 19th happens, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Yes. Also, before you adopt the business statement, I just want to thank you. I have soberly reflected on some of the decisions you take. And I've completely realized that you do that completely out of love for country, in your deep sense of ensuring that the business of Ghana continues. Occasionally, myself and a lot of my colleagues will question, even when the majority, especially the majority leader. This morning I was forced to bump into OKFM. Speak to them. After I heard the majority leader speak, and I won't go into it. But I just want to thank you and to say that you must be appreciated Today, the decision you are making, a lot of times, but for the respect we have for you, we probably will be opposing it. But for the respect we have for you and what we know you want to achieve, we are going to continue to support you to make such decisions. But we want the majority leader and the leadership to appreciate the extent you go to support government business. And you deserve more than that. Instead of we discrediting you. It's very important. So I want to thank you. But I want to say that oftentimes we have to really accept some of these things out of respect for you. And the sense we know that you are trying to bring us together to move this country forward. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, the business statement, is it also the business statement? Honorable members, the business statement is accordingly adopted. Yes, majority leader, I wanted to say something.
That is so, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, the minority chief whip is making a fetish of the numbers on the side at this time. And he says that there are only 3 of us here. I know. Mr. Speaker, I believe that at a point in time we were more than 3. At a point in time. Today, at a point in time, we were more than 3. Mr. Speaker, and I must say that even though the minority at this time outnumber the majority side, the number is 30. Yes, I've alluded to that. Having said so, Mr. Speaker, the issue that my colleague has related to, I have never disrespected the chair. Mr. Speaker, I believe the deputy minority leader should know that before Abraham was, I am. Now that he is pretending to be your friend, Mr. Speaker, he should know that before he aligned with you, I was there already with you. You should know that. Mr. Speaker, you use a phrase. You should be wary of fair weather friends. You should be wary of fair weather friends. I have never.
Is today's weather fair?
Mr. Speaker, today's weather is very fair. Be wary of fair weather friends. Mr. Speaker, the Olympic man we used to know was a Tema, not in this house. not in this house. Mr. Speaker, I have often restrained myself. And any time that I have disagreed with the Speaker, I relate to the rules. Disagreement is not disrespect. There's a world of difference between that. My former friend, Amakufibwa. Mr. Speaker, you see the pessimist. When I said my former friend, you think that he's no longer a friend. He's been elevated to another level. You see the pessimist. I said my former friend. So he's now a current good friend. Mr. Speaker, so I will never disrespect the chair and indeed the Speaker. On occasions that I have disagreed with him, I disagree with him on matters of substance, especially on rules, maybe, and his own interpretation of the Constitution. I may disagree with him. That is no disrespect. As I'm saying to you, Mr. It's a world of difference. But, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to respond to the Honorable Amakufibwa, who thinks that because he has given me some assurance somewhere, he can take my word for granted. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Honorable members, there's some short urgent statement to be made. It just came up that the Minister of Education had directed that our children immediately attend school Monday, 4th December, just this Monday. There's something urgent that we should be heard on. The Minister of Education has directed that our children, the students, should report to school this Monday. I think Parliament should be heard on it. So I'll allow the statement to be made, then a few comments, and then we adjourn. Yes, so we would have loved that the minister maybe was around, but he's not here. He can make the comments anywhere. So the honorable member for Akachi North and ranking member on education, Honorable Peter Nochu Kotwe. Your name has not been properly spelled on the statement. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a couple of weeks ago, the West African Examinations Council, that's WAEC, released the results of the 2023 Basic Education Certificate Examination, BEC. Consequently, yesterday, the Ministry of Education released placement of some of the successful candidates and directed that these students resume school on Monday, 4th December 2023. Mr. Speaker, parents are yet to get the required materials and items that they need to buy for their awards. Also, there are a lot of placements that need to be remedied because of the fact that some of the candidates have been placed in schools outside the regions they reside. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, a few weeks ago, teacher unions have requested that there was the need for the GES, that's the Ghana Education Service, to grant them enough time to rest at the end of this year. Truth be told, Mr. Speaker, that since the introduction of the double-track system in 2018, both teaching and non-teaching staff in the senior high schools have not taken any rest. This is seriously affecting their health. It is therefore necessary to allow them some rest during this break to the end of the year. Mr. Speaker, many of the students will be traveling from far to their various schools and will only have to go back home 2 weeks after resumption for the Christmas break. It is therefore only appropriate that to avoid the risks and dangers associated with traveling during that festive period, that GES should reconsider their decisions of making students report on Monday, the 4th of December, for the first week of January 2024, to enable parents prepare financially for their awards and also the teachers to take some rest. And finally, for the school authorities to fumigate the dormitories and other facilities in readiness to accept the first-year students. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Ablakwa. Sorry, the rank member. Let me allow the deputy, then after that you.
Most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the maker of the statement, obviously the ranking member on the committee, your committee on education. Mr. Speaker, I think that any fair-minded Ghanaian would agree with this appeal. I believe many of us here have received calls, messages from parents and teachers with regards to this directive. The Speaker, besides the logistical challenges narrated by the maker of the statement, 'Mr.
Mr. Speaker, we ought not to forget the times that we are in, given the current state of the Ghanaian economy, and the fact that most Ghanaians are struggling to survive. To require of parents to prepare their awards in such a very short period of time after their results had been published and placements made is most unfair. It's most unfair. I see no reason why the ministry and the Ghana Education Service should be in such a rush that these kids should go to school on the 4th. They will have to break for Christmas and then go back to school again. I just believe that this directive ought to be reversed. Let's be fair to ourselves. Let's be fair to parents. Let's be fair to the teachers. And let's get it right. It is not going to cause any irreparable harm to us as a nation and to the teachers and the students if this directive is reversed, and to allow for ample time for parents to prepare their awards, for the teachers to get some rest, so that teaching and learning would be effective. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Lakwa.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, let me commend the Honourable Ranking Member on your Committee of Education for this timely statement. Mr. Speaker, this statement is so crucial, and I salute you, Mr. Speaker, for promptly admitting this statement. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, all the teacher unions are up in arms. They are thoroughly, absolutely, and clearly, Mr. Speaker, opposed to this directive by the Minister responsible for education. In their own words, this directive is going to totally throw the academic calendar into disarray. There is going to be confusion, chaos, and they are not even psychologically prepared. They have not rested. I heard the teacher union say that they have not even rested and prepared adequately for this new academic year with the freshers who, Mr. Speaker, are still being placed. We are all receiving calls from constituents about the placement. The first batch was done only yesterday, and they are not done with the placements. There are still a number of students, a considerable number, who have not been placed, running into thousands from what we hear. And Mr. Speaker, the point must also be stressed that a good number of these secondary schools are far afield in other regions where these teenagers have never been to. They have to be accompanied, their parents must prepare. So even in addition to the logistical arrangements, you know, shopping for them, going to secure the prospectus, and then making sure you are able to buy the items on the prospectus. You must make time to accompany your children or your wards to these schools. Imagine you live in Northton and you have gained admission, or you have been placed, say, in Wesley Girls, or in Tamale Secondary, or in Notre Dame, or Wa Senior High. Look at the distance. Mr. Speaker, all of this is supposed to be done this weekend. I mean, just 3 days, you know, and they say that they want to resume academic work on Monday. I mean, Mr. Speaker, as the ranking member has said, this rush, they are going there to have only 2 weeks of academic work. I mean, we all know that when schools reopen, students arrive. They must do orientation, which takes some days. So really, it's just about a week of academic work. And Mr. Speaker, I must add, very importantly, that for those of us in the VRA-induced floods affected constituencies, we have, as we speak, displaced persons in these secondary schools. In my constituency, Mefes and Kizito Senior High Technical School is the biggest displaced camp. We have 1,500 displaced persons there. That's the NADMO record. The displaced persons have not been relocated. They have not been resettled anywhere. So, how do you expect people who are posted to Mefes and Kizito to be accommodated? It's practically impossible. So, this directive does not take into consideration a lot of factors. If my colleague from Central Town was here, Adidome Secondary School is affected. It's also a displaced camp. I don't know how they are going to cope. You know, so one wonders really what is happening at the Ministry of Education. And the minister ought to know, because he came round, he came to my constituency and was at the Mefes and Kizito, displaced camp. The Director General of the Ghana Education Service was there only a couple of weeks ago. I went on the tour with him. He saw things for himself, and he knows that that secondary school is not ready for academic work to begin. So, what really is going on? I mean, we are all at a loss, Mr. Speaker. And I will appeal to you respectfully and very humbly, Mr. Speaker, that the Honorable Minister of Education should be summoned here on Monday. He should appear before Parliament and he should explain to this House why this directive should not be reversed. We need your urgent intervention. Parents are counting on us. Teachers are counting on us. The students themselves are counting on us. There's too much chaos. And they have to really, stabilize the academic calendar. It's not only about this issue, but I mean, there have been times that people are on their way to school, then in the middle of their journey, there is a new directive that go back home with change. I mean, I wonder which sector is working in this country. I've never seen anything like this. So, Mr. Speaker, we really cannot, just watch on and see such a crucial sector. We are talking about the human resource of our country, the future generation, the people who will take over from us. We cannot be treating them this way. So, Mr. Speaker, we need your really urgent intervention. The Honorable Minister of Education must be summoned. He must come to this House and prove to us why he should not reverse that decision, because, Mr. Speaker, this cannot be allowed to stand. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Rashid, Dr. Rashid Pepu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement on the order of 72 of the standing, on the call for resumption of the resumption of the schools pending the outcome of the what do you call that? Pending the outcome of the placement of students. Mr. Speaker, since the placement had been announced, I received numerous calls from various individuals. Some called to say, Honorable, if you can help us to buy a few things for our students. Some called to say their students are placed in a certain place and they want a reverse. And others said that they are not placed and they wanted me to intervene to help them. The Speaker, because of the budget issues, we've not had time to go running to help them. We are thinking that by Monday, some of these issues will be addressed. And imagine you going to help place a student on Monday or Tuesday and school had already reopened. It's a cramped issue. It shows that the student will not be psychologically prepared to meet the deadline and to respond to academic work. I believe that this rash decision must be re-looked into. I know that the Minister of Education wants to catch up with the term arrangement before Christmas. And we appreciate his concerns, we appreciate the directive, but the fact is that we believe that if it is left and nothing is left undone, this is not going to solve the problem we are foreseeing. We are foreseeing a chaotic situation, a situation where the academic year itself, beginning from this resumption, to be affected. And I want to join my friends to appeal to the minister to re-examine the directive and to see whether it is not possible to extend it by 3 or 4 more days. Since it's not going to be a lot of academic work, maybe a week or more. Mr. Speaker, since it's not going to be it's not going to have a total effect on the performance of the student, because going just for 2 weeks will have no direct consequence on the performance of a student. I think that the minister should prepare enough, if even he might not open this year as quickly as he wants, and extend it towards next year. He could add a few more days when they are supposed to go on vacation. He could add a few more days to them so that it will take care of the earlier days that he should have wished the schools to start with the first years. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a serious matter. We are at the receiving end of students who are calling on us to help them in various ways. And so it is important that the minister re-examines this whole thing, and we hope that he would even do it before we summon him to the House. Because if students are supposed to go on Monday, tomorrow is a holiday, nobody can go to the bank to take any monies. It means you should have had money in your pocket already to go, shopping for your student to prepare them to go. And Friday is not a good day for that. And on Monday, when parents are supposed to now go to market, do whatever they want to do, buy items for their students, is the day they are supposed to resume. That would have been a terrible situation of failure of some students or many of the students who follow the directive. So, Mr. Speaker, if the minister is listening to us, it might be of use for him to change the directive even before he's invited to this House to come and explain, and for which might also result into his extension of the time. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Ni.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made for our ranking member on education. Mr. Speaker, as a former teacher, I know what preparations for academic year looks like. And academic calendars should always be predictable and organized. When you have a very predictable and organized academic calendar, it does not only inure to the benefit of the teachers, but parents and the students as well. Because then the parents are able to schedule their own planning and budgeting. Then they will be able to know those who are working and have to visit their children, their wards in schools outside their jurisdiction, will also plan their holidays at work so that they can organize themselves very well to go. Mr. Speaker, in the economic circumstances we find ourselves now, this is not a time to put anybody under stress, because we are already stressed, if not beyond stressed. The pressure that parents are putting on us members of parliament. So enormous. Even though there is this generic prospectus, there are so many other things that parents will have to acquire.
Unique to schools.
And Mr. Speaker, assuming you have 20 students in your constituency going to school, you buy trunk, chobos, mattress, all these.
Provisions.
Some of them will even have to add provisions. And between this period, sitting here, I've not seen anything showing that I've been paid my salary.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if somebody is going to school on Monday, how I will be able to support that parent who has come to me. 2, yesterday teacher unions were here in this house. So much under stress, the teacher unions, saying that looking at the calendar, the children are just going to spend just 2 weeks, 4 days on campus. And they think that it is not adequate enough for them to be able to prepare these children to be able to adapt to the new environment they find themselves, let alone to start good academic work. Mr. Speaker, what we are talking about here is about the future of our children. I've seen many children, otherwise brilliant students, who do not conform or adapt well to academic environments in their secondary schools become very bad. They may be excellent students, but when they get to the campus and they find the environment intimidating, they are not able to psychologically adapt well, it takes them a long time to be able to fit in. And looking at the erratic calendar we have, if you have such a situation and you are not able to nurture those children well, it will affect them at the end of their course. I will plead, just as all my other colleagues have said, that the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education sit down with their counseling department or counseling unit to look at how we can structure the calendar in such a way that parents and guardians will have the time to be able to psychologically prepare their children before they leave to school. Mr. Speaker, some of these children, as Honorable Kujetu said, are going to travel to certain places they've never been before. Some of them, their parents may not even, looking at the time, may not even have the opportunity, because they are workers, to leave their workplace, seek permission from their superiors to travel with the children to where they've been placed. So I'm pleading that the plea by Honorable Kujetu that the minister should come for us all to Georgia to find a better way of managing the affairs of our students as far as this particular academic calendar is concerned is important. We can't send our children to school and then bring them back home, change the environment within 3 weeks, send them back. It is not good for their psychological well-being. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether government has already prepared itself with providing logistics for the school, because I have seen the church people also complaining. We don't want a situation that arose last year. Then all students will be called upon to send food items to the schools because they run short of food stuff. We must know whether the buffer stock company have been able to prepare enough stock to release to the schools that will help them manage for the semester they are going. This is very important, because many a time we've heard the schools complaining, the teachers complaining, we don't receive our subvention, we don't have food stuff, and then the ministry will come and say, oh, there are enough food stuff. But the teachers will call in and say they don't have. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I also want to ask that is it possible for us to determine what the academic calendar in a year for basic school, second school, and tertiary education are in the country? Because when I was in school, Mr. Speaker, I knew when I would be going to school, and I knew when I was coming home. I knew. My mother knew. My father knew. But this time, you could sleep, and the next day, they say your child is coming home. You could sleep and you wake up and say the child is supposed to report in school. It's so bad. It's so depressing. Yes, it creates truancy because you don't even know when your child is supposed to be in school or not. So please, we'll plead. We all love the education of our children. It's very important to us. So we plead that, Mr. Speaker, you will give these orders for the minister to appear before us, possibly in the committee of the whole, so that we know what we have to do to make sure we support him so that he can prepare our children well for school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will try to be very brief on this matter because most of my colleagues have made a lot of important points that I wanted to talk about. Yes, I'm a former teacher, a proud one. Mr. Speaker, I have a copy of the harmonized or generic prospectus that GES sent out. And if you look at it, it's quite a tall list, even though they have tried to manage it in such a way that a number of schools that were asking a lot of things that were thought to be unimportant do not use this opportunity to kind of exploit the school children and their parents. But Mr. Speaker, it's a tall list. Hard body suitcase or trunk, chop box, drinking cup, toiletries, decent sandals, a pair of leather slippers, decent sneakers, and a number of things. Mr. Speaker, if a parent does not have some of these items and has to buy everything, even 5,000 cedis will not be enough to buy these things. In this current economic situation where prices have skyrocketed. So you bring out school placement and parents have barely a week to procure all these items and send their children to school is quite unfortunate. And we should realize that the current situation we are in as a country is not what we were in like 7 years ago. And so it is not going to be easy for parents to respond expeditiously. And Mr. Speaker, some of the students are sent to environments that they are unfamiliar with. And what is worrying is that some are even sent there as day students. And so their parents and these little ones will have to go and look for accommodation and pay for a year, a minimum. If you add the cost of rent to what they need to pay, it is not a joke. And so, Mr. Speaker, we need to pay heed. I mean, the Minister for Education will have to actually relate to what Ghanaians are going through and come back to reverse this decision. Mr. Speaker, I mean, yes, you are expecting them to go to school on the 4th. They will take about a week to go through orientation, and we all know that academic work will not start in the very week that they go to school. And so, and just after 2 weeks, Christmas. Definitely not much will be achieved academically this year. So the call by the maker of this statement for them to reschedule reopening to first week in January makes a lot of sense. Mr. Speaker, we want to humbly appeal to them. And finally, I do not understand why we cannot have a tentative reopening and closure of schools for every term for the whole year, for everybody to begin to plan towards it. I don't know what is happening to our educational managers today, that everything has to be an ad hoc one. It doesn't allow for proper preparation for anything. And so we really need to get the education minister to this house to tell us what is happening to our educational sector. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I think it's sufficient comments, and I want to, on your behalf, direct the Media Relations Department to issue a statement along this line. Immediately, the attention of Parliament has been drawn to the sudden directive of the Ministry of Education for the resumption of academic year coming Monday, 4th December 2023. The House calls on and urges the Minister of Education to reconsider the directive by the Ministry of Education to students and authorities, including teaching and non-teaching staff, to resume academic work on Monday, 4th December 2023. The House proposes for the consideration of the Ministry the first week of January 2023 for the resumption of academic work in these schools. The Minister of Education is directed to thereafter report to brief the House on Monday, 4th December 2023 on the matter. The House further calls on parents, teachers, non-teaching staff, and students to keep calm until the matter is resolved by the House. This should be the contents of the release by the Ministry, by the Director of Media Relations. Please, definitely I agree with you that if they are to report Monday, they will have to use 1 week for the usual orientation. Then another week to try to start, and you have to go at least for Christmas break. That definitely, I don't think they will intend to keep the students during the Christmas Yuletide period. They'll have to go back to these houses. And so if we just wait until the first week of January, where we can start these things and give enough room for parents and the students themselves, plus the teaching and non-teaching staff to site up, prepare for the schools and the students, I think that would be appropriate in the circumstances in which we are. So this is just the draft. I expect to be better polished by the Director of Media Relations. Do I take it that I properly conveyed your... Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I really associate myself with the sentiment expressed by the maker of the statement. I do know that now that the President is outside the jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker, you are migrating from number 3 to number 2. And therefore, the statement that I've just made is very, very pregnant. I'm just worried about the import of the statement that you have made. Is it to the effect that the children should not and wait? I am a bit conflicted because my own daughter is also involved. Admittedly, I'm worried. But I was thinking that maybe, having listened to the colleague who made a statement, found a way this evening to meet up with the minister so that maybe this could have come from the minister. But for Parliament to make this statement, especially coming from you, It may serve the purpose of causing greater confusion to respond to the invitation to attend school or not to attend school. That's my little worry. Otherwise, the speakers have said, I think that the statement is a good statement, capturing the worries of all of us, parents, non-parents, and people who have what to take charge of. So I would rather want us, maybe flanked by leadership, possibly to invite the minister this evening before the close of day to see how to salvage the situation. Otherwise, my worry is some people to align with what statement that we have made, to go to school or not to go to school, and that could create some problems. That's my little worry. Otherwise, as I said, I think I will associate with the sentiments expressed. What is the better way forward in this situation? That is the issue. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Majority Leader, I think you've raised a very important point, but the issue is that it's so urgent that I'm not even sure that in myself leading leadership to try to contact the minister, we will succeed in doing so as early as possible. This is the appropriate time for us to rely on our key partner, the media, which can easily reach out to everybody to assist us. And that is why I'm referring to a release from the Director of Media Relations to convey this as the position of the House. The minister will hear it, parents will hear it, students will hear it, tutors, non-teaching staff, they will all be informed to hold on. In other words, the students are not to report. And the minister should be here on Monday to brief the House. In other words, we agree that it's not proper for the academic work to resume Monday. I mean, it's not even practicable. They will go there and there will be a lot of frustration, even to move. You yourself know the situation we are in now. To move from Accra to go to Boko, if your son is sent there, even to get money during this unitary period, to be able to buy the items, to get lorry fare for them to move. Within this, how many days? 3 days. That definitely is not practicable. And so the call is for them to hold on. In other words, not to open until the matter is sorted out. And we are proposing for the minister to consider the first week of January before coming to meet us on Monday. I think the fastest, the quickest, the easiest, the cheapest means of doing this is through the media. That's why I gave the directive. Even though you have raised a good point for certainty of the directive, which I have taken on board, that yes, they are not to report. They are not to report on Monday, the 4th of December, 2023. Yes, please.
Just a quick one. I love the content of your statement. However, I just want to draw your attention that this is in respect of only the first years. So if your statement can find a way to emphasize that it is in respect of freshers, because currently there seem to be different academic calendar for different years. There are students in the schools as we speak. So the content of your directive...
I thought we were talking about those who've been called upon to report.
Exactly. So
yes,
that is why I'm saying that.
That is what it's about.
Thank you.
Because I said the House calls on and urges the Minister of Education to reconsider the directive by the Ministry of Education to students and authorities, including teaching and non-teaching staff, to resume. That is the word that's the word used by the maker of the statement, to resume academic work on Monday. That is the first yes. Because as we said, the others are already in school. And they have not been directed to resume on Monday. So this is in respect of that category of students. Yes, please.
I'm grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I really am inclined to align with your wisdom on this matter, because tomorrow is a holiday and then we are into the weekend. And Monday, if we say we will wait for the Speaker, pardon me, for the Minister to appear before us on Monday, 10 a.m., the students are supposed to report before 8 a.m. on Monday. So our intervention would not really be appreciated. It would be as though Parliament has not been proactive and has not really been helpful in this matter. So, Mr. Speaker, I really appreciate your wisdom on this matter. In terms of the concern of the majority leader, I also appreciate his concern that it's important that the House is not seen to be on a collusion course with the Ministry of Education or with the Executive. However, I really would have thought, Mr. Speaker, that as the majority leader and the Minister for the Leader of Government Business in the House, if he could have tried to reach out to the Minister of Education, if the Minister of Education is available right now, if he had told us that he's tried to reach out and the Minister of Education is available and is willing to reverse the decision, then we will have made progress. Then there will be clarity on the matter. But in the absence of that, the majority leader not able to tell us that he's either made contact or he has been able to reach the Minister of Education, then you are not being too helpful to us. So, yes, because you are not able to tell us. You are the leader of government business. Yes, but we've been discussing this more than 30 minutes. It's enough time. You are holding yourself
please,
up.
This is not a conversation. You have to address me.
Yeah, but
you have to address me,
he's
not the
intimidating me.
majority
The
leader.
majority
Please.
leader is intimidating me.
Please,
You know.
please.
So I really would have thought that the honourable majority leader will try to reach the Minister of Education, and then if he can appear before Mr. Speaker in leadership of the House, then probably we can see how we fine-tune the statement. But in the absence of that, Mr. Speaker's wisdom is the best. It's the best option we have, relying on the media to help us. The Minister will hear the statement, the stakeholders, everybody, except that even after this statement, we expect the Ministry to act. Because if there is a stalemate, this statement is issued, and there is no clear directive from the Ministry reversing the decision, then there will be confusion. Some students will still try to make the journey. Parents will try to take their students to school. Others may rely on this statement and not go. And we don't need this confusion. So probably Mr. Speaker should firm up the directives that following this statement, when the minister hears it, we expect a reversal, or at least they should hold on, appear before us. You know, so that
I went beyond that.
Yeah, so we don't create.
I went beyond that to say that it should be the first week of January 2024.
Yes, but
so that is all.
Yeah,
the second thing is a directive that they don't report to the schools. Yes, because you and me, majority leader, you know the difficulty and challenges in getting in touch with ministers, Me and you, we know. So even if we say, you say, he cannot just call him and think that he will just pick and start talking. You know, there are instances you've called ministers for weeks and you don't hear from them. Even when you send messages. So this clear and loud message through the media will be sufficient notice and information to all of them. If you want to use individuals, personal contacts and the rest, you are not likely to succeed. But it's so urgent, and all of us think the right thing to do is for the schools not to open by Monday. So why should we leave this to doubt? You know, His Excellency the President, even though he's outside the country, is rather in more contact with authorities here. And he listens to things that happen because he gets constant briefs to things that I even say on the floor here. Has given me enough evidence that he listens to what we do even in the House. So he will even hear this earlier than some of the ministers. And so if we have to react through leadership and speaker, we will not succeed. And that confusion that you are trying to prevent will rather be the order of the day. But, Deputy Majority Leader, yes.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, thank you for the intervention. Mr. Speaker, I need some clarity because I see prudence and procedure at play here. And whatever you're doing now would have a presidential effect and presidential value. We don't want the value to be in the negative. Whereas it is prudent for this House to assert its authority in the governance structure by airing the views of the suffering masses, especially in instances like this. It would also be procedurally right to navigate and situate whatever communication we have to the public within the context of law and procedure. Mr. Speaker, part of what you said read, the House directs. The House directs. Mr. Speaker, the House directs. Which, in ordinary meaning, connotes a resolution by the House. However, Mr. Speaker, what is before us is a statement. And that statement received comments. And, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to those comments, Mr. Speaker wants to direct certain actions to be taken. So, Mr. Speaker, like I said initially, prudence demands of us to take action. But procedure would be the vehicle to achieve that purpose. So I am only seeking clarity on the communication. The communication. Else, Mr. Speaker, we may throw the people in a certain state of confusion. So, Mr. Speaker, again, I got the impression that your statement was to give a guide to the media relations directorates. You said that you are guiding them. But, Mr. Speaker, you have used certain technical phrases in the language which is to guide them. And this technical language would have a certain parliamentary meaning. So I would want to plead with Mr. Speaker to perhaps have a look again at the language to be communicated. And again, Mr. Speaker, at the tail end,
the directive extended to you, the House, from what you said, the House saying that the reopening date is first week in January, or should be first week in January. Mr. Speaker, all cards must be put on the table. I didn't get the opportunity to comment on the statement, not because you denied me. Perhaps I was not properly constituted at the time. But, Mr. Speaker, can we state for a fact that the ministry had not put out prior notice of this date? We are not sure of it yet. What if the minister comes and says that this is not coming suddenly? This is not coming suddenly. But then there had been some engagement and all that. Mr. Speaker, you are right that sometimes reaching them may be difficult. Because while sitting here, I was trying to call to see what we can get out of him. So, Mr. Speaker, I shall conclude and resume my seat by reiterating my earlier call on the chair to bring clarity to the language being communicated. And again, Mr. Speaker, not to be seen to be acting in excess. We should not create a certain impression that the public may think that we are acting in excess of our jurisdiction, or although we are acting without jurisdiction. I rest my case, sir.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, I'm sure you didn't capture the essence of the statement, and maybe you didn't hear me properly. The word directive, which maybe we could have said summon the minister. That is the only time I used the directive for the minister to appear before the House. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can only do that when it's a motion and the decision is taken by the House. Even when you make a statement and you are able to get the sense of the House, this is what the House wants to be done. You can call on the minister to come even the next day. We did that in the case of the yes, recently there was one security issue, and I called on the Ministry for National Security, and they came the next day because it's an urgent matter. So what I said in respect of the date, I said the House proposes for the consideration of the ministry the first week of January 2023 for the resumption of academic work in these schools. That is what I put there. It was a proposal. With regard to the ministry itself, I said the House calls on and urges the Minister of Education to reconsider the directive by the Ministry of Education to students, okay, and authorities, including teaching and non-teaching staff, to resume academic work on Monday, 4th December 2023. So we are not directing them to do that, but we are calling on them and urging to consider. That is what I said. Okay. Now, the only place I used the directive was for him to report to the House, to brief the House on Monday. Then also, to allay the fears and to make it certain for the students, their parents, the teachers and non-teaching staff, I said the House calls on parents, teachers, non-teaching staff and students to keep calm. That is why he raised the issue. Does that mean that they should not report? And then I added that yes, the intention is to tell them to wait until we get the brief from the ministry, then we come to the date, which meant that I'm urging the ministry towards taking the first week of what? January. as the practical time for the schools to open. So what I'll do is that this is just, as you rightly observed, a guide to the Director of Media Relations. And therefore, I'll be in touch to make sure that the correct words and phraseology are used to make the situation clear. But the intention is to get an immediate release, because there's no time for us to ponder over this matter. And I think that the intention is good. It's just that you are all trying to let us get it right. So I have no problem with that. Immediately I get that done, I'll make a copy available to the majority leader and the minority leader, and then it will be released. And that will be done today. As we said, tomorrow is a holiday, then Saturday, Sunday. So it has to be done today, this evening. In fact, as I said, I'm just working on some other things to be released. And as I sit here, I'm getting a lot of calls on some security situations, and I'm acting on them whilst presiding. So there are some things that are so urgent. You talk about procedure and bureaucracy, then by the time you finish, the harm has been caused. Please, I plead with members to let us end it here and adjourn the House. Yes.
Right, Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief. I appreciate the wisdom. The concern I was raising was to avoid a confusion if the ministry doesn't act. Can we probably task leadership and the Education Committee to follow up after the statement, since you give them copies, to follow up with the ministry so that they carry out?
Actually, we don't know where the minister is now. And from the information I have, the minister might not even be in the country.
Yeah, but the ministry, the Ghana Education Service, so that they will take active steps to reverse. I just want to avoid a confusion where some may be going to school on Monday, others may be staying at home because of our statement. So to avoid that, because they must act. To avoid a confusion,
What you are saying now is that if they have to take what you are saying, then they will have to report. Because tomorrow next is the time that they will use in the consultation. And they cannot wait. They have to move.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So there's no time for engaging in these discussions.
Okay.
You know, we are clear in our mind as to what we want. Unless the ministry decides to disobey Parliament.
Okay.
Yes, I think, and I don't think that the ministry will just disobey the concerns that we are expressing, which really affects all of us. We are all parents, we all have wards, even if you don't have your children, have wards you're taking care of. And all of a sudden, you hear that they've been called upon to report Monday. In this situation, definitely you all react.
Okay, very well, Mr. Speaker. Once there's that clarity, we are grateful.
No, Speaker, I am concerned about the use of the word resumption. I would rather prefer commencement, because it's a commencement of an academic year for the first timers. They are not resuming
or report
or reporting.
Yeah.
Reporting or commencement.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, it's the media people that will use the appropriate words, but it's a guide for them. So we'll look at it. But I took that from his statement. The statement he used, the word he used in the statement is to resume. Are we not going to adjourn?
To add something. The reporting is for the first year students. Then the resumption is of the staff and not teaching staff. That's what it is.
Okay, we'll use it to work on. We'll use both to and then make it clear. Honorable members, I was trying to adjourn. Yes, Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we must adjourn and adjourn pretty soon. Mr. Speaker, we all feel very strongly about this. I just want us to avoid any confusion. An order has come out from the ministry, the executive. We are concerned. It's unfortunate that time is not on our side. What do we do under the circumstance? If we issue any counter instructions that don't go, it may render the situation very messy. And that is why I asked that there should be clarity on this. Unfortunately, as I said, and as the Speaker, you yourself, time is really far spent. Other than that, the better arrangement would have been to get the minister at all costs before the close of day. He and any of the deputy ministers, so that we can resolve this. Because I don't want anything to come from Parliament that will run counter to what is coming from the ministry, because the import of the statement, as is before me, is that my colleague was expressing a serious concern about what is happening, which I totally associate with. What should be the next step? Is the next step to stop the process? And if we do, what is the import of it? That's my worry. I'm concerned, like others have spoken to, the students moving from Accra to Lubo, to Wa Secondary School. He's not been there before in his or her life. And instructions just came yesterday. And a few things will have to be bought for the children. How do we get these things sorted out? It's getting too late. However, is the remedy for Parliament to issue a counter instructions? That's my worry. And that's why I'm saying that much as I associate with this, we should also be circumspect. We should be very, very circumspect in order not to create further confusion. Mr. Speaker, so if we can tidy that statement up, I have nothing against it. But it should not be said of Parliament that we are contradicting what the ministry is saying and that wards and students should not respond. That is my worry.
Honorable members, I don't have the final words here. I said this is just a guide. They will refine it. I will get across to leadership before it's issued, but it will be issued this night. So they are actually listening to what is happening, and they've taken note of your contributions, and I believe that will incorporate all what you've expressed. With this, with your kind permission, I want to adjourn. Yes, Deputy.
Mr. Speaker, I know it was said earlier that the minister responsible for agriculture was not around to lead us to eulogize our gallant farmers. But that doesn't mean that, at least with your authority, we can't just take the opportunity to wish our gallant farmers a 39th National Farmers Day. And I agree, I think the majority leader will agree with me that we can at least take the 2 minutes to wish our farmers a gallant 39th Farmers Day and thank them for feeding all of us and wish them well. Mr. Speaker, that's all I want to say, that despite the minister was not here, Parliamentary...
Well, thanks so much for the timely intervention. I think it eluded us. We should at least make a statement to commend and congratulate our gallant farmers for what they've been doing over the years. Who want to make the statement? Their comments can come. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think that what the minority chief whip has said. Am out of order. Hey. Hey,
You've been doing it too. Thank you. You're doing it to everybody.
Mr. Speaker, I think what the Minority Chief Whip said well encapsulates the opinion of the House. I guess we just shouldn't let it go as if nothing is happening. I would suggest to us that maybe next week when we come, it will not be late, because we can always appreciate the efforts of our farmers anytime. So we'll set a day aside and do that in a better way than just to, from the top of our heads, say one or two things. I don't think that would be good enough. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll plead that perhaps Monday or Tuesday, we can do so on Monday. We can do so on Monday in recognition of the efforts of our farmers.
Honourable members, I think this is a good proposal for us to properly celebrate our farmers on Monday, the 4th of December 2023. For this, I proceed to adjourn the House. The House accordingly adjourned till Monday, 4th December 2023 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House is adjourned.
Mr. Speaker, you are telling me for the umpteenth time, tell my colleagues, that if the Speaker is not up, you don't get up. Mr. Speaker, that is parliamentary practice. You don't hurry the Speaker out. You don't hurry the Speaker out by rising up before the Speaker.